So Chile, some news out of the club. Will Williams has signed a 3.5-year contract with the club. Just tell us a little bit about how the deal's come about and a few more of the finer details of it.
Yeah, again, it's been a really interesting process. The Will Williams situation has been on our radar for quite some time, really. He was a player in the winter that we identified as a possible overseas option, when we were looking at what we required. And through those investigations, it became apparent that Will holds a British passport and was considering the opportunity of potentially playing here as a local player. So we were aware of that during the winter, and then as things progressed during the season and our need for a seam bowler at quite short notice with a couple of injuries, we knew Will was here playing club cricket. Contacted him and got him in as an overseas player, and really quite quickly that conversation progressed to the point where ultimately Will has taken the decision to play as a local player and use his British passport. Obviously it means giving up his right to play back in New Zealand, but from our perspective it allows us to, with immediate effect, he can turn from being an overseas player one day to a local player the next day, which was obviously really exciting for us, and I think a really nice fit for the type of cricketer he is, and I think he really fits into the squad, so we're delighted with the news.
He was really impressive in those games at Warwickshire and Gloucestershire. What was it, particularly from yours and from Glenn's point of view, that really caught your eye and thought, this is something that we can turn into a much longer term thing?
I think what is quite clear with Will over the last 4 or 5 years is his ability to bowl with real control. So his accuracy, his run rate, his runs per over are really low. So his ability to create pressure and build dots, his record over the last 3 or 4 years in New Zealand has been excellent. So really, from a type of player, it's a bit of a no-brainer in English conditions. Someone who can bowl accurately, they're really valuable. But I think more than that, we were just really impressed with Will as a character as well. Right from the outset, everything happened quite quickly, but right from the outset, Will was very easy to deal with, very smart guy, very interesting guy, and seemed to really enjoy what we were trying to do and how we were trying to do it. So I think those 4 days, it was a pretty sensational win, that. So he certainly had a great start with us, but whether that just captures his imagination a little bit and made him think a little bit more seriously about his situation, that's sort of where we've got to, and it progressed to where we are now.
And I guess aside from just performances, a key factor of it must be how someone fits into the groups and the dynamics, and it seems like Will fitted in straight away. We heard Dane after the Gloucestershire game the other day spoke really highly of him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was, it was pretty clear quite early on that you get a good sense of people early, really, and it was very clear that he was going to be a really good character to come into our changing room. Brings a bit of experience, obviously brings quality, and I think just the right fit. So, yeah, I think it's really, really exciting news for all of us, really, and hopefully Will as well. It's a big decision for Will, and we've all been sensitive to that, and I'm very hopeful that we will justify his faith in us to some degree, and we'll make his experiences as enjoyable as possible.
You mentioned about it being a big decision. What were those initial conversations like with Will when you'd let him know that we kind of wanted to make this a longer term deal?
Well, I suppose in some ways we knew it was there, so we just, I always feel honesty, you try and be as upfront as you can with people, and I spoke to Will a couple of times at Edgbaston just to see how the land lay with him and where his head was at. I think just he's come to the conclusion that at this point in his career, this is the right thing for him. He'll be able to give you more detail around the reasons why, but ultimately I think he saw the opportunity with us and thought that that's something that he'd take, really. And obviously we were really keen on that, and we just tried to explore that as quickly as we could, and we found a point where we've gone from having an overseas player to a local player very quickly, and it'll add real strength to the side for the rest of the season and beyond.
We've almost hit that point of the season where we've lost a couple of players to injury. We've got various international call-ups. It must be great now to have such a reliable performer that is just ready to go for the rest of the year now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're quite right, and we all know how challenging the schedule currently is. You know, it's not really, that's another debate for another day, but it's not ideal when England are playing right in the middle of competitions and pulling players out of our team. So, you know, again, to have an unexpected sort of addition to the squad will just provide some additional cover and strength to our squad across all formats. So in some ways, that the timing of that couldn't have been better for us.
And we've seen Will's skill set in red ball cricket so far. Is he a very similar kind of bowler in white ball cricket as well, and can offer a lot to us in that form of the game?
Yeah. So obviously that's been on our radar as well, and he has played T20 cricket back in New Zealand, and you know, that's another avenue that we'll now explore with him. I mean, we're coming to the latter stages of that competition. But Will, I think, has a really good record of bowling at the death. You know, he's a very accurate bowler, so really his ability to bowl with accuracy and at the death and maybe hit the block hole and the Yorkers and those sort of things are going to be an additional asset for us. So yeah, it's not just a red ball deal. Certainly we see Will impacting across all three formats. And the beauty about it is, you know, I know we like to promote our own players here, but we are getting players taken off us. And at the minute, we know Will is going to be a player who we can rely on being available for Lancashire day in, day out, which with all the uncertainty that exists across a lot of our players is, you know, it's a real bonus for us.